All right, welcome to Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. For those who don't know, I'm Teddy and my cohort Randy's out here and we're ready to get started. And I'm not sharing my screen, Randy.
That's right. It's the pre-Olympic edition of Lunch with Randy and Teddy.
That's right. That's right. So now I'm sharing my screen. So I'm doing what I should be doing. Just really grateful to be out here and thankful for our sponsors for helping us make this happen. Elder Law Firm is our newest sponsor. They've been joined us the first part of this year, and they're in Greensboro. They're all about helping you keep your commitments to your family and your loved ones as they transition through life and all the things that are associated with life and getting older. If you have a need to have a conversation with someone about elder law, reach out to the Elder Law Firm, 336-396-3551. They're really good people, and we're grateful that they're our sponsor. So, hey, today is a good day. What do you think, Randy? Is it better Absolutely. Than yesterday because it's at least it's today's day?
It's 2/22. So 2/22. And in a couple of weeks, it'll be 2/22. Dare I say. So
you're such a philosophical kind of a guy, Randy. It's also Groundhog Day too, buddy.
Pretty deep around here. We're gonna have a 6 or 8 more weeks of wintertime, so I better wear a hat. So you too, Teddy, you better wear a hat.
Yeah. So introduce yourself, buddy.
Sure. Randy Wooden with Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. And when I'm not telling corny dad jokes and other random things, I run our professional center. As you might expect, we help professionals with a job search. So if it's you or maybe somebody you know, reach out, find me on LinkedIn. Happy to help. We work by appointment. I have clients across the country, but most of them are here in the Triad and they transcend industry and function. So just know we're here to help. Part of the help is this weekly show that we started back, golly, almost 100 weeks ago. Can you believe that? Wow. So Teddy, tell folks who you are. We'll get this thing started and I'll look to share our stuff on LinkedIn and Facebook.
There you go, buddy. You go get that. Hey, for those who have never met me or seen me before, I'm Teddy Burriss. I'm a LinkedIn strategist. I work for a company called Burriss Consulting. That would be my wife I work for. But some days she just aggravates me and just makes me work. But anyway, what I do is I help people understand and master using LinkedIn as a business tool. Whole lot of fun doing corporate training, one-on-one coaching, webinars. And as I told Randy, standing on the street corner and just proselytizing about the power of LinkedIn. Merikay, I hope that's the right word. So let me introduce our special guest, a good friend of mine. We've known each other for years, Merikay Hunt. And I know you as Merikay with another name for years. Merikay Hunt, nationally known, highly acknowledged speaker, executive coach. Mm-hmm. She provides custom training around development and organizations and associations. Merikay, say hello to our audience and tell them a little bit more about you. Would you please?
Oh, I just want to first say thank you to each person that's participated and also to Randy and Teddy for this opportunity to be guests today. As he mentioned, I do own a company called Coach MK Companies. And, the real goal of our organization is to help professionals unlock their true potential. Everybody has strengths, and sometimes it's hard to really recognize them. So we want to help people take them from where they are currently and go to that next level, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Hey, just a little housekeeping. If you're so inclined to let us know where you're watching from and also what's on the lunch menu, we'd love to know that. Now, if you have questions or comments for Merikay, please put them in the chat area, not the Q&A, because I'm a limited individual. I only look at the chat box. So don't put anything in Q&A because Teddy will make me read it and I don't want to have to do that. Yeah. All right. So there's that. Now, before we get started, Merikay, if you would, I always ask our guests the why question. I know I've known you for a long time, not as closely as Teddy, but I've known of you for a long time. And I know you really dig what you do. And it comes through. It really comes through. But what was your why moment or a series of moments that said, this is what I need to be doing?
Well, there's two. The first one, my very first job when I left Chapel Hill, I was a restaurant manager for Applebee's, and we were owned by a group of ex-steak and ale people, and our company was called Apple South. They transferred me to Fort Myers, Florida, and there were about 220 people that worked at this organization. And there were two that I couldn't seem to get along with. So after about 6 months, they canned me. I got fired from my first job out of college. And that was my aha moment of, wow, we've got to have human skills to go along with, the other skills that make us good at what we do. So the leadership, communication, human relations. So that was my first aha moment. And then my second one to do speaking, I was working for my father's dental office, and he had encouraged me to become a speaker and become a consultant because I had kind of business-wise transformed his practice to make it profitable. And I heard this guy speak at a dental appreciation dinner. His name was William Watson Perky. I'm not kidding. That was his name. And he was a professor at UNCG. And he was doing a speech, and he was out in the crowd, and he was making people laugh, and he was tearing up, and he looked like he was having so much fun. And I thought, oh my God, I want to do that. So that was my second aha moment to become a public speaker.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's good. That takes us, I tell you, public speaking, and I think we all three would agree, for many, many people is terrifying. It's difficult. It's terrifying. And when you can, I don't say master it, but when you can become proficient and comfortable with it, then that's quite a skill, and that'll play in any industry. It'll play any part of the country. It's a talent that not a whole lot of people have. So all good. Teddy, why don't you take it away? We'll get started. And again, if you've got questions, comments from Merikay, please put them in the chat. We'll try to work them in.
Cool. So Merikay, the title of this conversation today was Overcoming the Why Not of Transformation. Now, before we get into that, which is a powerful conversation, I'm really excited because you and I chatted about where we would like to guide the discussion. Let's talk about that word transformation, because this sounds freaky.
Sure. Well, it can be, because we've heard of the movie Transformers, right? We've seen how these, minor things can become these huge elements. And I think that's why transforming can be unsettling. It's because you're taking something and completely reinventing it, or completely changing it. You're making it kind of in a different whole realm. And for some people, that experience of change can be very fearful. And I think there's three main reasons why people don't want to transform. One is because their comfort zone, we're comfy. We don't want to make any changes. It's safe in here. And that's why I think I call it COVID care, because I wanted something positive to look at this season of COVID. But I think that's one reason why, for some people I talk to, this whole past 2 years has been transformative for them in a good way, because it's finally pushed them. And for others, though, it's been terrifying, and it's caused people to retreat more. So that's one of the reasons, I think, is because our comfort zone is safe and we don't want to change and or transform. And the other one is, I think, just general fear. And when we look at fear, that elicits a lot of human responses, anxiety, stress, pressure. And I think the third one that people don't want to transform is their mindset. They make excuses, or they say, the negative mindset of, oh, it'll never work, or I've tried that before. So I wanted to share that, because transformation, I want people to look at it differently. I want them to look at it as an opportunity for new beginnings. If you mind shift it and look at it differently, it can be amazing.
I agree with you. There's a lot of the fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of success. I mean, what if this thing takes off? Now I own it. I mean, holy cow. This horse, I thought this horse was going to trot. Now it's running, galloping, and it may fall off. A lot of stuff to unpack here. So really interesting. I'm glad you came by, Merikay. So
Teddy. Merikay, Rich Slentz, which I think Rich.
Oh yeah.
He came on the show almost a year ago. On the 13th of January last year, and his conversation was thanks for the push.
Yes.
To change, to transform. And he talked about how COVID forced him and his business to look at doing things differently, to look at transforming. And it was a great conversation that you're going to amplify with this conversation about why not. So
well, and I love that because Rich and I worked together at Dale Carnegie, and I have to share with you his transformation. So Rich was running a gym, and I had interviewed him to participate in a Dale Carnegie course. And right when I met him, his energy level, his passion, his enthusiasm, his communication skills, he was trying to decide if he should go into the insurance business or into another career. So he ended up signing up for one of our courses. And I called my boss, Emily, and I said, Rich is leaving the gym industry. We need to hire him. So Emily hired Rich. Yeah. So, and he wasn't thinking about going into training and development, but here again, he saw the transformation that he experienced in a 2-day course, and he ended up getting certified to teach that class. Yeah. So you never know. But here's the thing about Rich that I appreciated and admired. He was open and he was willing, open and willing. And I think for whoever's participating today, we need to hold the mirror up and we need to ask ourselves, are we open? Are we willing? And Randy, I got to tell you, you inspired me to write the dates down because you said today's 2/02/2022. And then in a few weeks, it's going to be 2/20/2022. That's 21 days, you guys. 21 days is what it takes to create a new behavior, right? To create a new mindset. So I want to challenge anybody at the end of our time today, if there's something, whether it's a self-belief, or whether it's a habit, or whether it's how we're using our time, or whether it's just one change we want to make, whether it's personal or professional, let's start today. You got 21 days and make it happen.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. And you've got a want, and your want to transform is gonna come from your why. What is you've got to understand, why do you want to transform? Play with that, Merikay, and share that.
Love this. So one of the first books I ever read that helped me understand the why was Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life. Okay. And some people know this, but I was an adjunct chaplain for a hospital for 3 years. And so the spirituality part, I think, is really cool. And I think we can blend it in and sprinkle it in on occasions, but we all have a purpose. We all have something inside of us that we were created to do and to be. Some of us are using that craft as a hobby. Some of us have always used it in our field for revenue. Some of us have never used it because we don't even know what it is. But it's interesting because my cousin, she was an engineer. She went to Georgia Tech, and she stayed at home to homeschool her kids. And now they're gone out of the house. Well, just in the past year, she has gone back to dancing, and she's dancing in recitals with her sister. Now she's in her late 50s. She has become an artist. In fact, I saw her work on Facebook and asked her, I'm commissioning her to do a painting for me. So you see, her why was the arts, but her business for years was being, an engineer. And then she decided to homeschool her kids. So I share that because we never know when that tipping point will happen, and we'll realize something that we're interested in or something that we're passionate about, and that can help us discover our why. So I wanted to mention, this morning I went to a small business roundtable discussion in Morehead City, and we were talking about transforming careers. And one gentleman shared this story. He had been in the insurance industry for 25 years. So he was going to retire, right? But he knew he didn't want to just retire. He wanted to do something. And he said his biggest regret is that he didn't make a list of all the things he was passionate about in the industry that he spent 25 years. So, his first couple things that he did afterwards, he just didn't have that joy factor. And what he realized is he liked the game. He liked presenting. He liked the sale. He liked that adrenaline rush he got from the close. So then he was able to modify, make some shifts, and find something that was in line with his passion and his purpose. Yeah. The other thing too, if you haven't heard of Simon Sinek's Start With Why, I'm only like the first 25% of the book, but here's what I love about it. If we have, let's say we have a product or a service that we're promoting, right? We've got to understand why that product or service is important to the consumer. For example, he used the iPod. Remember the little iPod that, you got music on? Well, Apple was the second company to invent that. Another company had invented it, but they were promoting it as a 5G MP3. Well, Apple said, hey, how about 1,000 songs in your back pocket? Now, which one sounds sexier to you, right? So they knew the why of the people that would want this. Just like for coaching and training, or for LinkedIn, right? I mean, the why is you've got people, Teddy, that are using LinkedIn, but they're not getting results. And they want results, right? And then for you too, I mean, Randy, you've got people that if they could, communicate better, or if they could present themselves with more confidence or build their leadership skills, we have to be willing to sharpen, our skill set if we want to go to the next level. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm a fan of Patrick Lencioni, the dude that did the 5 dysfunctions of a team.
Yep.
And he's written another book called The Advantage. And I hope I've talked to their team before, but I hope one day I could meet him, because he finally validated soft skills. Now, we don't call them soft skills, we call them human skills, right? But he finally validated that we have to have compassion, empathy, communications, leadership, people skills, human relations, because I don't care all day long. You can have the sexiest, best equipment. You can have all the degrees and 50 initials after your name. If you piss people off, you're not going to have an influence. You're not going to have an impact.
Hey, you talking to me over here or what? Huh? Look, we had a comment or two in the in the chat section, so appreciate that. And speaking about soft skills, the question is this: if soft skills are so important, why does it seem like it is valued maybe less than technical skills during the screening and hiring process?
Sure. Well, part of the reason is that it's hard to measure soft skills, right? Yeah. You know that a new imaging system is $20,000 to take the highest quality images of X-rays, right? But spending and investing $20,000 to develop your team so that you have low turnover, so that you have an ability to impact the customer experience or the patient experience, so that you have an ability to improve, the quality of delivery and camaraderie and productivity. It's just hard to measure. So that's a big reason why people may not see the value in it.
But in that context, Merikay, I get it. In the context of corporate American business, it's hard for them to measure it, but we should look at our individual selves.
Absolutely.
And ask our individual selves, what skills do I have, and what skills, soft skills, human skills, and how can I improve it so I'm not so gruff, or I am more open? Randy?
Well, and also when it comes to recruiting, I used to be a headhunter, and let's face it, in a lot of ways, it's a scavenger hunt, and you check the box. Do they have this degree? Do they have this background? They have this, and this. And that punches your ticket to the interview. If you need a guy to program a computer and I don't know how to spell computer, I may be the nicest guy going, not piss anybody off. I may have all of those other soft skill things, but what punches my ticket to the interview is I have to at least have some level of the hard skill. And then it becomes a winnowing process to look for that blend of hard skill, soft skill, or I'll say culture fit, to see if you've got the right person. So that's a subjective thing. But I get it. And we've got some other questions too that we can get to later in the chat. But Teddy, I'll throw it to you unless you want to have us plow through with another one.
Say that list of those soft skills you talked about: empathy, compassion.
And I'm calling them, we've heard of KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. Well, these are what I feel like are the KPIs of professional development. So number one is leadership, communication, influence, our ability to listen, and I'll have to look up the fifth one that I just wrote for a seminar next week that I'm delivering. But I think our problem solving, our analytical skills, it is a planning, time management. That's kind of like a bundle. We talk about mindset too, and I want to come back to that about attitude. And I see one of the questions is changing a habit in your environment. Here's the thing.
We'll come to it. We'll get back to it.
Okay. If you all made a list of attributes of successful people, and I've done this exercise hundreds of times over the last 20 years, if I asked you to think of someone successful in business and write down 3 or 5 qualities, attributes, characteristics about them, and then we went through that list and said, okay, is this a skill? Is it attitude or knowledge? Because Randy, you're right. Those degrees, that's our ticket to play the game. Right? You know, sometimes we have to have that certification or that, you know, initial after our name, but it's our attitude. Yep. It is our attitude that is going to help us distinguish ourselves from other people, how we look at situations, how we remain calm under pressure, how we find the good when it's always bad. And so I really want everyone to be a good steward of your attitude, because it's yours. Nobody changes it but you. And I think one of the books that really just unleashed this for me, I had a colleague that I was in a business group with for like 15 years. And he said, I want you to read the 4 Agreements, Mary Kay, because I read like 3 books at a time. I'm kind of goofy like that, but I guess I have a short attention span. So I need to read a variety of stuff. But the 4 Agreements, 1, don't take things personally. 2, don't make assumptions. 3, do your best. And 4, be impeccable with your word, right? So when we're looking to transform, and sometimes those of us take things more personally than others. Well, if you're in sales, you cannot take stuff personally.
So I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that list of those books from you, Mary Kay. I'm going to put that in the follow-up content. This is good stuff. And I know you've read a lot of really cool books. Because you've got to. This is how we stay ahead of ourselves, and not others, ahead of ourselves. Hey, let's talk about some of the reasons that people resist making change. And I'll share with you one of mine. I mean, when I decided to start my, this multi-million-dollar, global enterprise called Burriss Consulting in my mind, when I decided to start this business, I was scared to death. And my biggest fear was that I would burn through any amount of money I had before I turned it into something that could sustain me. So let's talk a little bit about the other reasons people resist transforming or changing.
Well, one of them is because it's unknown, right? And that's scary for people. My father was a periodontist. They're the people that work on the gum and bone. And I didn't know this story until I was older, but he wanted to be an airline pilot. He wanted to be a Navy pilot. And he went through the interview process. He found out he was colorblind. So they wouldn't let him be a pilot. And he took that really hard. But he had a professor in the dental school that saw something in him, and it encouraged him to become a periodontist. He was setting up a perio school in Iowa. And I share that because sometimes things don't work out. And we have to ask ourselves, how do I want to look at that? Do I will look at it as a failure, or do I want to look at it as a stepping stone or a doorway to something else? And, I tried for 6 years to get into dental school, and I spent gobs of money taking dental review courses because my dad wanted me to take over his practice. Well, after like the 3rd time that the dean at the dental department at Chapel Hill said, would you take the dental admission test again? I said, you know what? If you people can't figure out I need to be in dental school, then maybe I don't need to be in dental school. And I've had so many dentists that I've worked with in my career tell me I was glad that I didn't get into dental school, because I could be there to help them run their practice and help them with their team development and their leadership. And so here's the thing, right? It comes back to how we're going to choose to look at it. And do we want to keep our comfort zone small? Do we want to take a risk? Also comes to that mindset. Do we have a growth mindset, or do we have a fixed mindset? Because a fixed mindset does not want to make change. They want to do things they're comfortable with. They want to take the test where they know all the answers, stay in the industry where, they have expertise, whatnot. And that's great. But to have a growth mindset means you're willing to take a risk. You're willing to fall flat on your face. You're willing to try and see if it works. And that's where the real expansion comes, the real transformation comes, when we're willing to take a risk.
Yeah. And, but we also earlier, we talked about, we perceive these obstacles as saying, I can't get there. There's a daggone wall in front of me. Well, if you really want this, because you believe in your why, you're going to find a way to walk around that wall and get past that obstacle.
Yeah, amen to that. Okay, here's another example. So I was working at a healthcare consulting firm, and it was the one where my father was a client. Well, if I had stayed with Dale Carnegie, Teddy, and not taken this opportunity to go work for this firm, I would not have had all the tools in place to help transition my dad's practice when he got diagnosed with a terminal illness, right? So if I'd stayed with Carnegie, it wouldn't have happened. And then after my dad passed, I stayed another year or so. Then I had an opportunity to go work at a hospital. And the first time was to be director of leadership. Well, I didn't want to do that because I wanted my definition of leadership, not theirs. Yeah. But then a year later, they had a director of patient and family experience opportunity. I was terrified. I'd never worked in a hospital. I'd been an adjunct chaplain for a hospital, but I had to just really pray about it. And I talked to some colleagues and my posse. And I just said, what do you think? It'd be a blend of my master's degree in counseling, my background in training and development, my chaplaincy. And I just decided to take a risk and do it. And here's the other thing. I said, can I do this part-time? They said, no. The VP who was hiring me said, no, you can't do this part-time. So I went to another VP and I said, can I do this part-time for 2 months so I can transition my Dale Carnegie business? She said, sure. So sometimes, at the first door doesn't open, go to another door because you just never know.
Yeah. Too often go ahead, Randy.
Well, we have a few questions in the queue over here, so I thought I'd throw out one or two of them, and I know we're close to the halfway break.
Yep.
So we'll take care of that in a moment. But one of the questions dealt with how to improve your storytelling during the interview. We've had other guests on talking about that topic, storytelling, and how impactful that can be.
Sure.
And especially during interviews. So could you speak to that about maybe tips for helping people do a better job of telling their story during interviews?
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you a very quick template. Okay. You open with time and place. That gets people's attention. Open with time and place. So I could say 12 years ago or 6 months ago, and tell them where you were or what happened. Then you tell the what, who, why, where, how. Okay, that's the middle of the story. And y'all, you can do this in 60 seconds and 2 minutes if you practice. Then you end with that learning lesson or that call to action. I call it the bumper sticker, right? Then you end with sort of your last sentence that you want people to hear. Maybe it's a lesson you learned or something that you want to learn or something that you are glad that you have an opportunity to do differently. There's so many situational questions that get asked in interviewing. And Randy, this is your area of expertise. But I think it's important that we have stories that speak to our strengths. So I want everybody on the call today, I want you to know your 5 top strengths. And if you haven't done the Strengths Finders inventory on Now Discover Your Professional Strengths or Now Discover Your Strengths, you need to do that. So have a story that goes with each of those strengths to exhibit it. But then also, I think a lot of reasons that people miss the gap on the interviewing is because they're making it all about them. You got to make it about the company, right? Yeah. You got to ask them, can you share 3 to 5 qualities of the ideal candidate for this position? And then as you hear it, right, then you can blend your story in to one of the elements, that they've talked about, because people want to partner with people that are passionate and that are willing and that fill a need. I hope that helps.
Absolutely. Yeah. Storytelling is important. So hey, I'm gonna do my 12:30. Hey, you're on Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. Those who don't know, I'm Teddy, and my guest Randy, or my co-host Randy, and our special guest today is my friend Merikay Hunt. And the conversation is all about the how to overcome the why not in transformation. We're grateful. Appreciate the Elder Law firm out of Greensboro, North Carolina, being our sponsor. Who's important to you and what you plan to honor and how you plan to help them is important to the elder law firm too. So if you need to talk to somebody about the right estate planning or how to help people move forward in their elder years, contact the elder law firm in Greensboro, 336-396-4551. Randy, Merikay, good conversations, good stories too. I appreciate that. Randy, anything queued up that we want to chat about?
Well, we can get to some more, but I just think a lot of this goes back to the storytelling and being able to understand your why. For example, one of the other comments or questions, how do you find our value so that you can brand yourself on social media?
Yeah.
And
how do you find, so the question is, how do you find your value so you can brand yourself on social media?
We can take that a little bit broader than just social media too.
But yeah.
Sure. So here's one thing I did. I actually called one of my longtime favorite clients, and I said to her, she's a dentist, and Sandy Fuller, she actually used to be my dad's hygienist. And so when I told her I was going to dental school, she said, well, I think I can do that. So our joke for a long time was, well, it was my idea, but she ended up getting in. So I said, what have I done to help you over the years? And she said, you've helped me see possibilities in myself that I never thought were possible. Right. So she never saw herself as a leader. She never saw herself as an influencer in dentistry. She never saw herself, as this sort of magnet. And I bring that up because oftentimes we have to be able to really dig down and figure out what excites us and what gets us, out of bed in the morning. And if we can do what we love, it will never, ever feel like work. So I think if you want to brand yourself, you've got to ask other people that you've been around, or even, identify what your gifts are, what you help people do. I had a friend, I never met the woman before. She reached out to me on LinkedIn. She had moved to Wilmington, and I had posted something about how empty nest was really hard because I moved to the coast. All my kids are gone, and it's talk about transformation. Cried for 48 hours. It was huge. And I mean, I know all the tricks, and I'm still miserable, like slithering around like a slug for 2 days. But I share that because I told Amy, I said, I teach in Wilmington sometimes, so maybe we could get together. Well, the next day I said, hey, I'm meeting 3 ladies tomorrow night. Join us. Amy said yes. She could have said no, but she said yes. And she's been trying the job hunt. Well, guess what? Nothing turned out for 3 or 4 months. And so she's partnered with somebody else to start her own company, and it's going gangbusters. So we're actually supposed to talk this afternoon so I can hear more about it. But, I saw the word rejection, and I just want to speak to that for a second if I can, because rejection is so hard, you guys, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in, a job search. And I myself, when COVID hit, I had $90,000 walk off the books in 4 days. I'm a single mom. I had a mortgage. I was freaking out. And I used that as leverage to learn how to teach on Zoom and to really do some homework. I bring that up because I too have looked at interviewing, and because about every 5 years, I'll kind of explore, do I want to align with someone? Do I want to partner with someone? And because so many training events are still getting canceled, I thought it can't hurt to try, right? But here's the mindset you have to have, right? Number one, if you are rejected, right, all that is a no or not now. It is not about you. It is not personal. But we have to understand that 75% of jobs that are landed is through networking. So if I'm looking at 300 candidates and somebody in the organization can vouch for you, it's going to give you an edge. Also, if you are using LinkedIn, I recommend that you link to people that are in the company that you're applying, because if you can come in through another doorway, and what I call is coffee chats, right? So let's say I want to get my foot in the door somewhere. I will reach out to them and say, hey, I just applied for XYZ position. And I did this for a national company that works with dentists and physicians, because I want to be one of their trainers that helps do leadership training. And they were hiring a director of training. So I went ahead and linked to the 2 top dudes. I applied for the position, linked to the 2 top dudes, because y'all, even if I don't get it, I don't care. They're still going to know me. So I linked to them. I made the message about them, and then asked for a Zoom call. Even if I don't get the opportunity, it's about building relationships to build business. So never take it personally. And the second thing is you got to have enough in the pipeline, right? Because some people, they're only putting, 10 resumes out or whatnot. That's really statistically not enough. You've got to have more in the pipeline. Yeah. And so just be aware of the mindset impact that it can have by getting too down on yourself. You just got to keep trying. And this is my favorite word, next.
Yep.
So write that down.
So when you talk about finding your value, I mean, I'm going to go back to, who was that? Dean. Dean asked a question about finding your value. You know, we struggle. My hands raised. I struggle finding my real value because I look at myself through the same pair of glasses. And actually, Randy knows that's not true, but I have about 10 different pair of glasses through the same set of glasses every day. I see myself the same way I see myself. And what you talked about, Merikay, and this whole transformation world, I put that up there behind me, not for you. I put it behind me for me. Because if you're not willing to, and if you're not going to find the time to get into conversations with people, you're only going to see yourself the same way you see yourself. Others see you differently. And in December of 2010, I went on a journey to have conversations with people about who am I? Who am I from your eyes? Who am I from your perspective? One of the guys I talked to who helped me make this transformation was a dude by the name of Nigel Alston.
Oh yeah.
And talk about someone who has no restrictions to peeling back your layers to help you figure out who you are. But you're not going to transform.
Yes, he is skilled at the question behind the question.
That's right, which is often the why.
Yeah.
So you've got to be willing to get into conversations with people who know you, because they're going to share with you in ways that you can't share with yourself.
Well, and that's where testimonials are powerful. You know, for example, if you teach a course, right? Ask for participants to give you a testimonial of the impact that course has had on you. Or if you have a supervisor or someone that you've worked with in the past, ask them to give you a summary of your strengths. I was teaching a class at Herbalife, and at the end of the 2-day class, I do these closing comments, and I wanted to pull out 3 of the strengths that I saw in the participants over the 2 days. And then I give an example of that strength and how it demonstrated in class, and then some type of encouragement. This guy was in his mid-60s, supervisor at Herbalife, started tearing up when I gave him this feedback. And I'm like, trying not to freak out here because I've never had anybody cry. And so I kind of moved closer to him, and he said, I've never in my career had anybody give me feedback like this. He'd never had positive feedback. So you think about his value, right? So he may not know any of his value because he never got real positive feedback. So I think the key is that we need to ask people, if you truly don't know your value or your purpose or your why, you know, I'm always going to tell people to center on it, pray about it, journal about it, you know, who you think you are, what you love. And then the other piece of it is ask people, ask feedback. They say you're an accumulation of the top 5 people you hang around. So maybe you're not transforming because you need to get a new posse. You know, I mean, I don't like negative people. I just don't. I mean, they're terminally unique. You know, they're like Eeyores, and I don't have any friends. And in fact, even when my kids become negative, I hold them accountable to it. I'm like, well, you're putting that energy out there, so no wonder it's not working out, right? It's all how we choose to look at things. And I'm not saying Pollyanna, you know, everything's rosy, because trust me, I've had 2 divorces. I've had a lot of crap happen to me in my life. But how am I going to choose to look at it, right? I had cancer, and it freaked me out. It was melanoma on my leg, and they cut out a big old chunk of my leg. And I freaked because my aunt had skin cancer, and then she got breast cancer and died. And I was about her age. So I used that as momentum. So my new hashtag on my personal Facebook page is make every day count. You know, I want to slide into heaven and go, whoop, whoop, I'm here. I mean, I don't want to leave anything undone. But that's my willingness to try, even if I fail. And that's where transformation can be powerful, is you've got to ask yourself, this is a Dale Carnegie principle. And this is in his book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. But he says, ask yourself, what's the worst that can possibly happen? Once you've experienced that, or once you mentally wrap your head around it, okay, fine.
Well, so Merikay, After my Dale Carnegie course, which by the way, I testify to the power of that on a regular basis. After my course, I asked that question when I was considering leaving corporate America to start this business, teaching social media in 2011, when nobody even thought about social media being a business tool. That was the question that helped me make that transformation. And I asked myself, what is the worst that can possibly happen? And how can I put all of my energy into not having that happen? Well, I needed a safety net, Mary Kay. That wasn't enough. So I went with this safety net. If I absolutely fail, is there some place that my wife and I can move into? Now I have 4 daughters and I have a few friends. I asked all 4 daughters, I said, if I fail at this business, can your mom and I move in with you? 3 of them did not hesitate with a yes.
Wow.
I had a safety net. So
yeah,
the fourth one is out of the will.
The other one,
The fourth one is out of the will. That's a little addendum. Hey, you mentioned the Clifton strengths a while back. My number one strength is positivity. And you, I've been through cancer and been through some challenges, divorce and business and other things. And you're at some point you say, hey, I've been through a lot of stuff. What's the worst that can happen? So how we allow things to impact and play within our ears here, I think that's huge. It doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to good people.
Sure,
they do.
Absolutely.
But how we process that and learn from it. And
again, absolutely. And here was a shift I made a long time ago. You know, when people cut you off in traffic, I mean, it can be irritating, right? Well, I just decided one day, I'm like, I'm not going to get irritated anymore. I am going to send them good energy and wish them well, that they get to wherever they're going safely. And when I did that, it like made me calm. I didn't get irritated by it. So it's just interesting that little minor thing, when you shift your mindset towards it, it can be energetic instead, or peaceful instead.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's talk about how to take and look at our transformation and how to look at our future. Okay. I mean, what's some actions that we can do? The first is the mindset. Know your why. Why do I want to do this? Why did I want to create this multi-million-dollar global business in my mind? Why not? For me, it was very clear. I wanted my own business where I can control my own destiny, and I can manage my time, Randy, manage my week, so I can spend time with family, friends, volunteering, and figure out how to make money. Right. So I knew what my why was, but you got to have this vision. So talk a little bit about vision as you think about transforming.
So a couple things that go with that in the package, right? Knowing the why is critical, having the vision for what you want, but then also being aware of your behaviors, okay? Because we are all a product of what we choose to do every hour of every day of every week. And so for some of us, we might have more energy in the morning. So we need to do our real difficult, demanding things in the morning. Some of us might be, I call them larks or owls. Some of us might be more afternoon, evening people. And, the longer it takes for us to do something, the more energy we're investing, and then we're not as productive. So I think we have to look at our habits, whether it's worry, whether it's self-care. A lot of people, and I'm kind of struggling with this. Last year, before COVID hit, I had a personal trainer. Well, then that went out the window. And so in like a year's period, I had lost 20 pounds. I was working out 3 times a week. It was awesome. Well, then I moved down here, and November hit, then December, I'm not outside as much. And it's like I put 10 pounds back on. Well, I know what I need to do. It's just putting it on the schedule and making it happen. The other thing that's kind of powerful is if you pick a word that's kind of your word for the year. And Teddy, I think you have one for this year. What's your word?
No.
Okay. No. And if you flip it around, it's on, right?
I'm with you. But if you say no to the stuff that you should say no to, then you have time to do the other stuff that's important.
Right. And there's that old philosophy, say no to the good so you can say yes to the great, right? Yep. So here's the thing, and I've got a guy right now that I'm supposed to start coaching next week. I've coached him in the past. He is a premier healthcare leader in Texas. And, his business is great. We're not going to talk about his business. It's his life that's out of whack right now, right? And we're going to work on some video training, but for the most part, he's got to make some better habits. So the key is you got to start small. And when you look at goal setting criteria, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time space. So I want you all to write down, what specifically do you need to change? What one habit is making a detriment or a behavior to your business or personal life? I love red wine, absolutely love it. Well, but I can't drink a ton of it during the week because I don't want to feel like crap, right? So I know that I can have that joy, enjoy it if I hydrate more. So if I have water in between, right? And then just don't drink maybe a glass with dinner or whatever. But I know that. I also know if I exercise that it gives me more energy. So I've just got to make it happen. I journal every morning and for like 15 minutes, and I'll read something inspirational. And when I have gaps in my journal, no wonder I'm a wreck. I'm agitated and kind of like, tense. It's because I haven't had that centered time in the morning that I know kind of gives me my fuel, gives me my layer of protection that I can handle what comes my way. So I share that because, if you truly want to transform, right? Because you have to be willing, you have to be ready, and you have to say yes, right? Is write down 1, 2, or 3 things, no more than that. Warren Buffett talks about how you don't want to have more than 3 goals. And the key is because if you try to do too many things, you dilute your efforts. So, I don't want you to have more than 3, but pick 3 things that you might want to do different, or 1 for the next 21 days. I am a big fan of block scheduling too. So if you want to transform, one of the things that can help you do that is to block schedule. And by that, I mean, block out time, sacred time for you, right? I took this picture of the sign at this Highway 66 restaurant, and it's like this 1950s lady, and she's got like a cocktail in her hand, and she goes, I can only take care of one person at a time, and today I choose me. So, you gotta think about, what do you want to change? Like, I know today, since I couldn't work out this morning, I had my quiet time, but I got to do it this afternoon, right? And I know how many times a week I need to do it. And the key is if you don't follow through one week, don't beat yourself up. Every day is a new opportunity. So just jump back on and do it the next day. So you got to take a peek at really what you want to change, what you want to transform. And then also, I think you got to be willing to really read some good books on subjects and implement the things you read. Because I watch people struggle with communication, but they're not learning anything on how to communicate better. Or I watch people struggle with their faith, but they're not really doing anything to grow their faith. Or watch people struggle with their, mindset, but they're not. I've read 4 books on focus. It's still an issue I have, but I'm working on it, right? But so you got to know thyself where you're struggling.
Yep. So this is good stuff. And we talked one last point that I really think is important. And you've touched on it throughout the conversation, Merikay, which tells me that you are clear about the power of this. Positivity. You've got to believe that what you want to do, you can do. You have to believe in possibilities.
Yeah.
That you can move something forward. And if you don't believe, it's not going to happen.
No. And that's why, I like affirmations. Don't get me wrong. I use them every day, but we can't use words that we don't believe in our core being, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where some people get in trouble. Also, visualization is very powerful, right? Just closing your eyes and visualizing doing it, and then speaking the words. I saw a great video on LinkedIn about this yesterday, and it was this little boy who was trying to do this obstacle where he had to run up a ramp and then catch on and then climb up top. And he was probably only 6 years old. Well, he fell like 4 times in a row, and his dad sat him down and he said, I want you to visualize you getting to the top of the ramp. Close your eyes. And he basically said, I want you to repeat this after me. I am strong. I can complete this. I can do it. Like 4 or 5 sentences. And he said, I have power. I have strength. And then he had the little boy open his eyes. He said, okay, when you're ready, go. And he did it. He videoed it. And it was just so powerful because I think, we set ourselves up for failure or success based on the mental and the verbal messaging that we give ourselves. And, Mike Collins is a guy who I heard speak a long time ago at a GMA event. He's from Raleigh, and I love this theory. Mike said, every morning when you wake up, just envision that you're putting like a mental CD in. And what do you want to tell yourself, right? Do you want to tell yourself, this is the day the Lord hath made, I'll rejoice and be glad in it? Do you want to tell yourself, I can make it happen? I've walked onto a stage to give a speech, and all I tell myself is, Mary Kay, just breathe on them, just connect, right? Because it's not about me up there, it's about them. And which comes to one of the questions, this is important. If somebody has a workplace need, this is a Carnegie principle. Let the other person think the idea is his or hers, right? So if you want an initiative to take place, and a guy this morning shared this in our meeting, he said, I used to go up to my boss and I would say, okay, I'm going to run an idea by you, but before you say no, if it works out, you can take all the credit. I was like, that's brilliant. And it worked, right? The other thing too, I loved about his story, he had been in the car business for 15 years. And so when we talked about transformation, his daughter was sitting next to him. And I said and he was next to me. And I looked at him and I said, so what inspired you to transform from from the car business to the insurance business? And his daughter went like this. And he said, her. And he knew that if he'd stayed in the car business, he would never be able to go to the dance recitals. Yeah. He wouldn't be able to pick her up from school because he had to be at the car lot all the time. Yeah. So his why was his daughter, right? And what he loves about what he does now, car business and insurance business, it's all about relationships, which comes back to our gifts and our purpose.
Yeah. That's, I'm still thinking of that. You got to know your why. And if you don't know your why, and if you don't know your gift, and you go to Dean's question, if you don't know your value, you've got to uncover all those things first, or you'll never move forward on anything that's meaningful in your life. So Mary Kay, great stuff. Would you take a few minutes and just summarize 3 or 4 solid points and I think we've touched on them, that if they don't get these, once they do, say it in the positive, Teddy, once we and they get these, we'll be more successful.
So write these 3 things down. Okay. Number 1, as Teddy just said, know your why.
Yeah.
This is your, why is it important? Is it to use the gifts that you've been given, or is it because of your family or something else? Number 2 is know your passion and your strengths, right? Be on fire for what you do, guys, because we work hard, so be on fire for it. And then the third one is you've got to create a plan and have support, whether it's an accountability partner or coach or whatever. So know your why, know your passion and strengths, and create a plan and have support. And for those of you who know people that really want to transform their public speaking and build their confidence, I am teaching a 2-day course in Wilmington and Greensboro. Teddy's going to have some info on it, but share that with people. It's small. We only take 12 people in each class because we do one-on-one review room coaching with folks. And we want people to feel in a real safe, comfortable environment so they can take risks and stretch their comfort zone. But I've seen people get promotions. I've seen people land the biggest deals of their career just from an opportunity to build their confidence, build their communications, build their influence.
Yeah, so. Good stuff, Mary Kay. And I'm here to testify, as I said earlier, there are a couple things that absolutely, I'll tell it my story. So Randy, anything else on the queue that we need to touch on? And if not,
I think, well, just real quick, there was a question about talking with management and trying to get them to listen without seeming like you're complaining.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a difficult task. How can you convey things without sounding like you're whining?
Sure. Well, there's a way to do it. Harvey McKay talks about this in Swim with Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive, but we want to present it in a way to enhance the culture or to build revenue or to make it a plus or a positive, to build teamwork or camaraderie or cohesion, whatever that is, and help them. Sometimes managers don't see the issues or the problems on the lines, so that we have to help them. This is what's working. This is what's not working, and this is what's missing, and then get their feedback, right? And if we can get, I like to call it, again, kind of your posse, but But if you can get a couple other people in the department to join in with you, so that way you're presenting it kind of as a team effort. Here's some things that are working great in our company. Here's some things that are challenged, and here's some things that we want to look at improving down the road. Then it doesn't sound like you're moaning and groaning.
Yeah. Make it a business conversation, not a bitching session.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Well,
stuff,
Teddy, I
Merikay.
don't really have a great, I don't, me, every week I just make it up as I go. So this is no exception. And I try to listen to what's said and think about how that's played out in my life. And I guess the positivity thing, I mentioned that earlier. And I learned that back in high school, again, without going into a long story that would last forever. The thought was that you can't control what people do or say to you. What you do have control over, to a large extent, is certainly your time, but also your attitude
and how you react. Absolutely. And so I had this conversation with a fellow the other day, and I said, I guess as I've gotten older, I'm a pleaser. I want people to be happy. I want positivity. I want all that stuff. But I've also learned to be a little bit more selfish as I get older. And to Teddy's point, his word for the year is no. And while that sounds selfish, it helps to prioritize. And I guess that really is the thing, is how we focus our priorities and focus on what's important to the near term and also to the longer term. So well stated today. I really appreciate Merikay coming on and sharing your thoughts. So Teddy, I just made that up on the fly.
Now, unlike you, Randy, I plan voraciously for the last 13 seconds, and I have a story, and I'll share it quickly. Look, I made a huge shift in my life when I studied Dale Carnegie, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Zig Ziglar, Norman Vincent Peale. I studied these people. I just didn't read their books. And I took a 14 or 16 week course every Tuesday night till 9 o'clock, 50 miles from my home. And in that study, I discovered a lot of things about me that I didn't see before. And most important way, reading that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, really added to my business value and my life value. Reading the book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, was the straw that broke the camel's back, or the thing that opened up my life beyond measure. But I also want to share this, because we can all do this. And again, my statement behind me, it all starts with a conversation, was because that's how I built this business. I had no idea I'd be a public speaker. I had no idea I'd be a leadership coach and become certified leadership coach. I had no idea I'd become a certified career transition specialist, certified social media strategist, world-renowned LinkedIn coach. I had no vision of that. Until I started talking.
I had no idea you were all of those things, Teddy. I am impressed.
Until I started to talk with people, and they said, why don't you try this?
Yeah.
You love to run your mouth, Teddy. You need an audience Merikay, right? You need an audience every day. You love this social media stuff. Go try that. Absolutely. And when I heard people say that, yes, Dean, I'm a Toastmaster. I spent 5 years as a Toastmaster. When I heard people say that of me, I said, let's go try it. And that's what I'm offering for you. Listen to what the people who know you say about you.
They're planting seeds, right?
Yeah.
People may be planting seeds, but you have to be open and willing to listen and hear it. Yes.
Yeah, cool stuff. Hey, Merikay, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you showing up today and sharing with us. Hey, our special guest for next week is another deep conversation. The lady's name is Nicole Kaufman, and Nicole is in Greensboro as well. Merikay used to hang out in Greensboro, and she left us. But the conversation Nicole was bringing to us next week is take charge of your mental health. We've run into this conversation over and over again, and Randy and I finally decided to bring somebody in to talk about our mental health and how we as individuals can take charge of it. So join us next week, same channel, same time as Nicole Kaufman joins us in taking charge of your mental health. Hey, this is Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. My buddy Randy, my good friend Merikay joined us today. And we want to again thank Elder Law Firm for supporting Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. We will, if you tune in and find us on Mondays when Randy and I get together, not as a big deal, but we share a little bit on Mondays as well. And join us next week. Merikay, thank you, dear. Randy, I'll see you later.
Make every day count.
Awesome. Take care, guys. See you.
Bye.